First of all, Jordyn, I want to say a massive congratulations because that is no easy feat, what you did. Oh my gosh. I feel like I was so emotional watching everyone in it, especially you. And I just want to see how you are, how you're feeling watching it back. And do you have any regrets at all?
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, first of all. And I mean, it's so strange watching it back, just seeing what things get included in the episode and what doesn't. And it's hard for sure because I feel like I consider myself a really tough person. And, some of the challenges I felt like really, really tested my physical toughness, but mostly my mental toughness. And specifically with the water, like that's just never something I've been challenged to do my entire life. And so that was kind of like a first time thing. And I think, starting out with the beehive and struggling with that and, nearly drowning a couple times, like really just messed with my head. And I did my best to fight through it, but really felt like at the end there, the next challenge was like beyond my limit and that was okay. And I don't think I have regrets just because I remember how hard it seemed and how hard it was. And I'm not sure I would be able to do it even now, unless I got a little more comfortable in the water. But I have a feeling that if I continue watching the whole season, there'll be other challenges where I'm like, dang it, I wish I was there for that. I wish I could have done that one. Definitely.
Yeah, it was interesting. The water challenges really threw you, and watching it, have you always had concerns about the water? The whole rocking back challenge and the panic attack that you had. I really liked the interview part of the confessional where you brought in your gymnastics and how the impacts of not showing emotion for all those years and now everything's just kind of pouring out of you.
Yeah, well, I think, a lot of people didn't realize is when we did the beehive and we're all treading water, like, treading water is something that most of us can do for a certain period of time. But then when you consider like, okay, we're wearing our combat boots, full clothing, and then not to mention like we kept having to get closer and closer. So, as people start panicking, like, your people are grabbing arms and kicking legs and like certain things like that make it a lot harder, and you start getting pulled under, and then eventually your arms get tired and certain things like that. So I think that just really I struggled with that, and it got in my head a little bit. I sort of freaked out, and then like anything else in the water after that, I just got a little panicked, kind of like with that memory of the beehive. So I think that's really what affected me. And honestly, before this, I haven't really had issues with water, but I've never really done a lot in the water. Like I've never swam. I've never had to. I know how to swim,
She's
but
a
like,
gymnast. She
yeah,
doesn't need the water.
I'm a land creature for sure. So it was just a new challenge, not necessarily one that I'd struggled with in the past.
I want to ask, how did you feel bringing up your gymnastics career in the show, especially what you went through with the doctor, the abuse, and bringing all of that back up? How was that, and was that something that you wanted to do?
Not necessarily. It was tough for me, but I think when you're feeling that vulnerable and you're kind of broken down mentally and physically in moments like that, which is really what was happening, just you get emotional. And I feel like that whole story of my gymnastics career and everything I went through like has really made me into the person that I am today and has made me a lot stronger and a lot more resilient. So I think that's just part of who I am and everything that I've gone through. So not that I necessarily wanted to bring it up, it just kind of naturally came up and the questions that they were asking me in the interrogation. And they asked why my gymnastics career ended early, and that's really one of the big reasons. And so it just sort of came up. But I think it's important for people to see, like for me specifically, being a survivor of sexual abuse, like being able to speak freely and openly about it, I think is inspiring for a lot of other survivors who may not feel like they can, or feel like they want to. So hopefully, even if it helps one person feel like they can have that moment of vulnerability and talk to somebody, that's really what I see that can come out of that.
Definitely. I 100% agree with you. It was really emotional, especially when you said that, when you think back to that young girl and you just think she was so resilient. Like that was really impactful. And thank you for sharing that on the show. I also wanted to note you had some beautiful words of encouragement from your fellow team members. Like Nathan said that like doing hard shit is part of who you are. Like, how did it feel to have everyone just have your back when you were going through those really struggling times?
Yeah, I was really appreciative because, I was really struggling with the decision of whether to try the challenge or not.
Yeah.
Um, and Nathan was, one of the cast members that I knew going into the show. Like we had met back in London for the games, and so getting on the boat in the beginning and seeing a familiar face was really nice. And so he was so kind and so helpful, and especially being a swimmer, like, trying to give me some thoughts and advice of how I could do that. Um, and just trying to encourage me. I feel bad that at the end of the day I couldn't do it, or couldn't get myself to do it, but I'm just grateful that they were there to encourage me for sure.
You said you had no regrets when we first started speaking. Like, so when you look back at, not getting in the water again, do you still think like maybe if I had just gone in, I could still be there? Or are you just like, you know what, that was my time and I'm happy with it?
I look at that boat, it's sinking in the water, and I still to this day am like, I don't know if I could do it. And I think if I did some like extra training and like learned how to open my eyes under the water and learn how to hold my breath longer, like I could do it. But it was, it's not something I do every day. And it just really freaked me out. So I don't know, like maybe I really wanted to continue on the show and I really wanted to keep going, but I'm not sure that like even to this day I could do that. I want to say that I could and I would, but maybe I need to do a little extra training first.
What was the training that you did going into the show?
Well, I only knew I was going to be on it for, I want to say, a few weeks before. So and
I don't give you much time.
yeah, I mean, I've always been in pretty decent shape, like since my gymnastics career, but I tried to do a little bit more like weightlifting, and I would walk up and down stairs with a heavy backpack on and like stuff I knew that we were gonna have to do,
Mm.
running and just kind of building up my muscle a little bit, like push-ups, pull-ups, all that kind of stuff. But um I didn't really have time to do a lot of water training and
Yeah.
swimming. So that's one thing. If I had had longer, I probably would have incorporated more swim training.
Yeah, definitely. And I just wanted to ask lastly, when you had these panic attacks after the water challenges, before them, and going into these challenges, was there any point in your gymnastics career where you had similar situations where, you were out there on the floor and you just thought, I can't go on?
Mm. Not really. I will say, like, what people are seeing in those moments is a combination of like some panic, and then also like I've always had some asthma that I've dealt with. So like when I think back on my gymnastics career, like even in my Olympic floor routine, I was taking my inhaler before and after. In my adult years, I haven't really had any issues or needed that, but I think that's what we were seeing in those moments, is a little mixed with, panic and a little asthma. Couldn't control my breathing. So that was like the closest thing I'd ever kind of experienced from my own gymnastics career. But that level of just like panic and an inability to kind of control my breathing, like I never really have experienced anything like that in my life.
Wow. Oh, I just salute you. Like, that was unbelievable what you accomplished. And I hope you can look back and feel really proud of yourself, because I felt proud watching you. It was truly exceptional.
Thank you. I appreciate that.